What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA. Well, we have finally come to the end of the road when it comes to the DCEU. Okay, the DCU will be starting in earnest once the final chapter on the DCEU closes. And that closes out with this film, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And they're asking this question on Slash Film. Can Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom save DC's very bad year at the box office? And obviously, we know the answer to this question is hell no. No, this thing is going to be a flop. It's going to be a giant disaster. There's no way in the world this thing is going to get saved, or the DC bad box office year is going to be saved by this film. You know, and listen, we all knew that this was coming, because when James Gunn announced that reboot, whether you think the reboot was a good idea, a bad idea, or whatever, regardless of how you feel about that, you have to understand that when he announced that, he was basically setting up the entirety of 2023 for a giant fail. You know, one big L across the board for every single movie, and that's exactly what we've gotten so far. Shazam, Fury of the Gods, flop. The Flash, the greatest superhero movie of all time, whatever, flopped. All right, flopped, and it ain't the greatest superhero. I don't think it's a bad movie, but it's not the greatest superhero movie of all time, like James Gunn was trying to make it out to be. And then obviously Blue Beetle, an unknown character, which I found just like, you know, the last video where we were commenting about the other flops in 2023, and somebody said, "Oh, it's an unknown character, and you know, it's the first time he's hit the DCU. Everybody's excited about this." Nope, flop. All right, big flop, big flop. And now the biggest, most lucrative money maker for the DCEU, which was Aquaman, it is about to be another flop. Okay, the sequel to this thing, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Let's go ahead and see what they're talking about over here. It's no secret that DC has had a rough year at the box office. Warner Brothers has released 3 DC comic movies theatrically in 2023 so far: Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Flash, and Blue Beetle, and all 3 of them have bombed. Suffice it to say, it feels like the forthcoming DC Universe reboot, led by James Gunn and Peter Safran, can't come soon enough if it's not too late already. But first, WB, Warner Brothers, has one last superhero juggernaut to release in the form of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Amazingly enough, the follow-up to the highest grossing DC movie of all time now feels like a major underdog. Well, again, it's because nobody cares about this universe. If you don't care about the universe moving forward, then what is this movie for? What are we supposed to get out of this movie? You know, this is the end of the universe. And I mean, maybe there's, you know, some folks that say, hey, let's go and watch this thing just to see how it all finalizes, or see the end of it. It's not like ending on a culmination. It's not like Endgame or something, right? This is just the last movie that's going to come out of this universe. That's it. You know, so it's not like a final story is being told or something like that. It's just the last movie. It's just a sequel to Aquaman, and that's pretty much it, you know? And so, yeah, it's definitely a major underdog. Like, check this article out. Yeah, Deadline pushed this out. This was back November 30th of 2023. Said it was going to get a $50 to $60 million opening over the Christmas stretch. So that's what they expected this thing to do about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Where is it at right now? Yeah, so here we go with the Box Office Pro long-range box office forecast. And this is the most recent one, all right? So let's see where we at. Aquaman. All right, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Here's what they got it doing in the 3-day weekend: $29 to $38 million, folks. $29 to $38 million in the 3-day weekend for a superhero film that made $1 billion on the previous go-round. Whew! Yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. And then even if you add in the Christmas day, say, okay, what is it? We add Christmas. $38 to $51 million for the 4-day weekend, including Christmas. That is a bad number. No matter how you try to look at this situation, it's not good. It's not good at all. And then, of course, you know, if you look at just the domestic, they're saying the domestic run should fall somewhere between 105 and $155 million. Look, this is a disaster. This is an absolute disaster for the box office for a movie that made, again, and this thing probably cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $250 million. I'm quite sure. You know, plus the marketing. They haven't done a lot of marketing, but nevertheless, they put some marketing out there. So they put some money towards the budget for trailers and for guest spots. And, you know, Jason Momoa has been talking and making his rounds. So there's been stuff out there for marketing. Yeah, that they don't expect this to do very well whatsoever. This thing is going to lose a ton of bread. It's going to lose an absolute ton of money. And again, I said this then, and I say this now, a lot of this goes on how they handled that transition for that reboot. The transition from the DCEU to the DCU it had to go off without a hitch. You had to be very careful on how you approached it, because they approached it in a kind of like, well, it's over, it's done with. Go watch them if you want to, but we're moving on and we're doing something else. And everybody just checked out. I would have kept my mouth shut on that stuff. Oh yeah, we're still doing some stuff with Shazam, and yeah, we're gonna plan to have the Flash in here, and we're gonna do stuff with Blue Beetle and Aquaman. These guys are all still a part of our universe. We're gonna fit them in where we can fit them in. I would have said something to that effect, instead of just saying, yeah, we're done, and we're probably gonna cast Jason Momoa as Lobo. All kinds of rumors and everything. And look, the rumor mill is always gonna run. But at the end of the day, you had to be very careful with the amount of money that James Gunn, well, I shouldn't say James Gunn, with the amount of money that Warner Brothers had already previously sunk into these 4 films. In my opinion, they had a responsibility to make sure that those 4 movies got the best opportunity to be successful as they could possibly give them. And they didn't give them that opportunity at all. Announcing the reboot in the manner in which they announced it, these things, don't even worry about them. You don't have to watch this. This isn't about an ongoing universe. These films are done. And listen, everybody that wants to say, well, why can't you just watch a movie? Like we used to just watch movies. We didn't have to worry about a cinematic universe. Well, okay, well, that was then and this is now. And all of this stuff got built upon the strength of a cinematic universe. Aquaman didn't just exist on its own. It would have probably been impossible for you to even make an Aquaman movie by itself if it wasn't already attached to a DC cinematic universe. It certainly wouldn't have been making the money that it made the last one anyway. So again, like all of that kind of stuff is disingenuous. Yeah, I understand the thought process behind it. We did used to just watch movies just as movies, but that was then, this is now, okay? Cinematic universe are a definite part of our cultural lexicon. And so, when you put a cinematic universe film like an Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom or Blue Beetle or The Flash or Shazam, and these movies got made on the strength of having a functional cinematic universe, and then you just pull the plug on that cinematic universe, what did you expect to see? Like, I just crack up because I see so many commentators crying about that. And it's like, come on, get real. Get real. This isn't the reality of the situation that you're talking about. Yeah, Joker and, the Batman that are clearly established outside of a cinematic universe, go for it. But would people have gone to watch Aquaman the way they watched it if he hadn't already been introduced in the Justice League? If he hadn't already been a part of a cinematic universe and people were saying, okay, where is this going to lead to? What else is this building upon? Would that have been the case? No. So yeah, you guys got to stop making that nonsense. That's a dumb argument. Then it says, yeah, tracking for the film is coming in quite a bit lower than the original. The Hollywood Reporter had it coming between $40 and $50 million opening weekend. It hits the theaters December 22nd. Has the benefit of Christmas falling on a Monday to give it a 4-day holiday weekend. Even so, current tracking indicates the film will open well below the 2018 predecessor. That's the other thing, is that this film is coming 5 years after the original. 2 years. That would have been during the pandemic, so it probably would have been struggling at that point anyway. But 2 years after, okay, 3 years, you're good. 4+, you're probably not going to see a good box office return. I'm just keeping it real. You're not going to see a good box office return. People have probably already checked out. It opened at $67 million domestically, en route to $1.15 billion worldwide. And yeah, we just saw the Box Office Pro estimates for the 3-day weekend. $250 million budget. I mean, look, I like James Wan. I love James Wan. I think he is a great director. I love his horror. All right. James Wan is one of the best horror directors and writers and creatives out there, and I would have been interested to see his Trench Aquaman movie. That would have been fun. I would have liked that. But yeah, I wouldn't have gave this cat $250 million for this film. I definitely wouldn't have given him that. Even back when they thought the DCEU was still going forward, I wouldn't have given them that. That's way too much money for this film. And this film did a lot of its work overseas. A lot of this, what it talks about, this 1.15 billion worldwide, a lot of this was due to the international markets. Yeah, so this is the box office for the original Aquaman. Look, 70% of its box office take came from the international realm, okay? $816 million it made internationally, 71%. So that's a lot to ask, James Gunn to replicate. Now, the good news is, even though domestically this thing isn't going to do very good, I don't think it might pick up some bread internationally, because the international markets, they certainly were rocking with the first one. So it depends on how they feel about this second one. Is this, adventure something that people internationally, is it speaking to them? Is Jason Momoa more of an international star? And is this going to attract those folks? We'll have to see with that. But that's the one thing that might be the saving grace for this. Domestically, I think this thing is going to come somewhere above $100 million, but that's about it. It might get to maybe about $120 million, if it's lucky. And listen, if it's a great film and it's just everybody saying, man, oh my God, this is a great way to end the DCEU. What a phenomenal movie. Maybe it gets some word of mouth and it gets some legs from that. But ultimately, I think that they're going to have to hope that the international markets are really feeling this movie like they were in the original one, because again, just from an original standpoint, I mean, 1.15 billion, but, again, 71% came from the international numbers. So we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I think that Aquaman is done. I think the DCEU is dead. People, and especially in the States, in the Western countries, they're not feeling this. And they're probably not going to go and check this thing out. They'll wait for it to come on HBO Max or whatever. That's what they're waiting on. But the cinematic universe is dead. It's over. People are checked out. People are done. And now we're just moving on. And we're waiting to see what, James Gunn has in store for us with Superman Legacy. So that's the next thing on everybody's mind when it comes to the DC cinematic universe or any types of films. Joker and Batman aside. When it comes to something that's a cinematic universe or something that people would be interested in watching and following. Yeah, we're waiting on James Gunn to see what he's going to do with Legacy. So far, Legacy, the cast looks good, and James Gunn, quality filmmaker. We'll see what he has. But anyway, folks, you guys let me know what you think about Aquaman. How do you think it's going to do in the box office? I don't think it's going to do very well. I just don't, at least from a domestic standpoint. If it has a chance, it's going to have to be internationally. That's the only place I think it's going to make any money. But you guys let me know what you think. Jump down in the comments. Give me your thoughts and opinions on that. And thanks for watching. See you next time.